Hello, everyone. I'm not sure what happened. We were previously on live, but Instagram had a little moment, so we're just trying to get ourselves back up and running. In NYC, together, Maria's here so that we could get back into the live. Hello, it kicked you off and then it kicked us off. So
Okay, got it. Because I clicked something and then it made me go through the Embrace account, and I was like, oh my God, this is not my account. So, okay. All right. So back at it. So, okay, I heard the last. So we are talking about booked and busy being balancing work-life balance. And I know that's what we was talking about. Good thing we only got kicked off at the beginning because
right.
we could start off over. But all right. So let's kick into it. But I heard what you said. I could hear you. But
Okay.
so I love what you said. And I think someone told me this a couple years ago, and I think it's so important. And I haven't been able to do this in some time because I've been working from home since 2020. I'm even prior to that, but she said when you come home from work or your day, she said take an hour for yourself.
Yeah.
I remember she was like, take 1 hour for yourself. She said, I don't care what you need to do. And she was talking about like rubbing your feet down with coconut oil. And I think that is great. But whatever, I think it's important that at the end of your day, you take 1 hour for yourself, or you take a moment to decompress. One of my girlfriends, she says like, and I'm like this too. I can't, like, from my live, you see how I'm working, and this is work for me. I can't go straight to sleep after this. I need a moment to decompress. I'm probably gonna get something to eat. I may rewatch the live if I feel like it, or I may do something that has absolutely nothing with work. Actually, there's something I want to watch, so I'll probably watch that and then go to sleep, and kind of go like that.
That's good. I feel like after people get home from work, it's like, no, I need a rest so I can go to work again. But it's like, no, like you just have to find out your sleep schedule. That's really important, especially with the work-life balance. You got to figure out a good sleep schedule for you. But that hour, cherish it. Take that time to do something completely unrelated to work. Even if, like I said earlier, just sitting and enjoying a candle and just, even if it's silent and you're just breathing, that's still personal time.
Yeah.
So that's what I
Or
would
be
say.
on the phone with somebody. Oh, that hour's good. I'm good to be like, ha, ha, ha.
Oh, I love a
Kiki.
little Kiki on the phone
Yeah,
while that's right.
like it's like
Yes.
that one little hour. You know what it is? You got to pay attention to your soul. Your soul will tell you, girl, you need to decompress. You need to take a moment, and maybe it might even be on your way home from work. That's another thing too. Don't underestimate that. Maybe like, let me stop at this spot. I used to do that all the time. If I had like a long day at work, baby, I was up at H&M, Zara after work, and it would be like 7, 8. I would be running in because I knew Zara would close at like 9. I would run after work, like, let me just get into the Zara store. So even that might be a moment to decompress. You don't always have to go straight home. Like I used to be at Forever 21, Zara, shopping, Saks, and sometimes I would just walk around Saks. I knew good and well I didn't have Saks money that day, but I would just walk around after work and take a moment to decompress. So I think that's important, is take a moment to decompress after work.
That's really good. That actually goes into the next question that I had. So, can you share some practical tips or some strategies for effectively managing your time and your priorities when you're trying to, figure out your work-life balance?
Girl, I know I have a lot to say on this one. So everybody get your pens and your paper ready. This is because I'm going to give you strategies.
Okay.
And it's a long list. First, have a calendar, right? I think people just try to remember things. I'm like, no, put it on my calendar. Like, for example, I had a meeting today with someone, and she was inviting me to some event. I was like, girl, send me the calendar invite, because if it's not on my calendar, it's not real. Like, it doesn't exist. So I think have a calendar. 2, plan ahead. Plan ahead and stop waiting for last minute for everything. So what I do is I look at my calendar for the week following the week before. And I'm like, I look at my calendar, I look at my priorities, I look at my tasks, and I say, okay, how do I need to make sure I'm prepared for that? So I'm just smacked into the week, so I'm not overwhelmed. So I think we we have this habit of waiting for last minute. It can be something as simple as, if you know that next weekend is the family barbecue and you have been asked to make the potato salad, maybe you should go purchase the items that you need for the potato salad a couple of days before instead of waiting for the last minute. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's certain things, I think sometimes we stress ourselves out for no reason. It's like, you knew you had to fry the chicken. You knew you had to bake the cupcakes. You knew you had to make that presentation from 2 weeks ago. You knew you had that final. You didn't prioritize it, so now you're feeling overwhelmed. So I would say plan ahead and stop waiting for last minute to things. Break down your long range goals into short term goals that are achievable. So, like, have weekly and daily action steps. So an example is, I have, every Sunday I write down my goals for the week at the top of my week, so I know what my priority is. So I'm like, all right, cool. This week you got to focus on this, that. Even if it's personally, this week you got to pay this. This week you got to do this. So have a list. Have our journal. Have something where you live by, where it's like, okay, what do I need to get done? Something that one of my good girlfriends showed me is something called Ibnu. This is about to change our lives. I'm on the phone with her. This was a couple months ago, and she's like, Ibnu. I'm like, what the? You talking about Ibnu? She's like, important but not urgent. You got to know what those things are that are important but not urgent. So an Ibnu will be like paying your cell phone bill. It's important, but it's not urgent. But if you don't get to that cell phone bill, your cell phone bill is gonna get cut off. So find out what's Ibnu on your task list. So maybe your Ibnu is your groceries or laundry. Maybe something like, all right, I need to get to it. It's important, but it's not urgent. But if I do not attend to it, eventually it's going to be urgent, and I'm going to be wearing, grandma panties. So find those things that are Ibnu on your schedule. And another thing, when you're working on something, if it's a high priority task, you need to get rid of unnecessary distractions, period. Like, get off your phone. It's something I call single handling. So it's something I learned from a success coach called Brian Tracy. It's like, if you know you got to bang that project out, you got to bang that proposal out, turn your phone on D&D, put it on the other side of the room, remove all distractions and get it done. And when you are like those things that you need to get done, put yourself on a schedule. So one thing I used to do, and I kind of still tend to do this in my own way. So let's say the work day, especially, those of us who are working at an office, you can say, all right, I'm going to get to office from 9 to 10. I'm going to be answering my emails. From 10 to 11, I'm going to be working on this project. I got that meeting at 11, so from 11 to 12, I got that meeting. And then 12, I'm going to go get my lunch. I'm going to come back at 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, I'm going to return. From 1 to 1:30, I'm going to return to replying to emails. Now from 1:30 to 2:30, I'm going to keep working on that project. From 2:33, like, you got to put, don't just let things, and honestly, it might be the urge to reply to every email that comes in. Like, no. Tell yourself, nope, you're not replying to 1:30, because once you reply to one, you got to reply to the other, you got to reply to the other. So I would say put yourself on a schedule. And one of my favorite things I also learned from Brian Tracy, and I teach this in our course, in our programs, is identify priority tasks, right? So it's like your ABCD. So this is kind of like Ibnu, but a different version. Is like, your A tasks are the most important and have major benefits or consequences for completion versus non-completion. So an A task is like, you got a final paper due tomorrow at 8 a.m. and it's a major consequence if you don't get that done tonight, right? So that would be an A task. A B task are things that you should do, but have minor consequences for completion versus non-completion. So a B task may be, okay, you said you was going to start working on that grant proposal, but it's not due until the end of next week. So you still have a little bit more time to work on that. C tasks are things that would be nice to do, but they have no benefits or consequences at all, right? So it would be nice to call your girlfriend back, but hey, you call her back tomorrow, right? D tasks are things that you can delegate. And this is something like I said, we don't take advantage of the word delegate. You don't have to do everything all the time, and you have to be willing to be okay. So let's say in the example I said about you're feeling overwhelmed because you have to make the potato salad for the family barbecue. Maybe you're going to have your cousin make the potato salad this time. Or maybe, if for my women who are home with their husbands and their partners, it's like, you know what, sis, you don't need to put the babies down tonight. Let him put the babies down tonight. And so what, their hair isn't perfect and he didn't do it the way you thought it should be done. That's another thing for my moms out there. Sometimes we want, our partners and our husbands to do everything the way. That's not the way I would make their lunch. Is the lunch made? Okay, do they have the juicy fruit or whatever the heck it is that they need in their little lunch bag? Then that's all that needs to matter. So you have to be willing to be flexible, to delegate to the people in your household, people in your team, maybe people in your school, on your school projects. Like you're in a project for school and they're trying to have you do everything. No, delegate that. No, you do that. You do the presentation. I shouldn't have to do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Use apps. I'm an app queen like Asana, so you could keep tabs. Yeah. And another thing I will say, don't wait till you're in the right mood to do something. You got to practice discipline.
You talking to me
Practice.
directly right
Yeah,
now.
I'm talking to you that you can't wait until you're in the mood. Girl, I can't wait till I'm in the mood to write a grant proposal. I can't wait until I'm in the mood to answer these emails. Sometimes I'm like, let me get to it. You have to just get yourself in you gotta do it. So what you do in them times when you don't feel like it, make the mood like, all right, God, I don't want to write this proposal, but I'm gonna play my music, I'm gonna light my candle. I sit sometimes and I have a great view from my balcony. I'm like, let me put my stuff together. Let me get a green juice, whatever your cup of coffee. Make the mood right so you could get it done, and think about how you're gonna feel when it's done, and reward yourself with a treat when you complete certain tasks. Like, yeah, I finished my finals, I finished my exams, or I finished that project. Girl, go get yourself a coffee cake or something. And when you are working on certain things, like, give yourself permission to disconnect. Like, take breaks if you need to take breaks. Sometimes if a task is starting to feel too much, my temperament is like this. I can't sit. And one thing that like a very cumbersome thing for me is grant proposals. I do a lot of grant writing. I can't sit in one day and bust out a grant. It will exhaust me. So I take breaks. I come back to it tomorrow. So you need to also know that about yourself and your temperament. Because again, you wait for last minute. But see, I could take breaks because I know that the grant proposal isn't due for another 2 weeks. So I could take a break and come back to it. So I think you want to give yourself permission to take breaks, have fun, take a nap. I'm the queen for that. If I start feeling it's too much, I'm like, I need to close my eyes for 15 minutes. So yeah, those are my little practical ways for people to balance work life. I'm pretty sure Ibnu, if y'all ain't remember nothing, remember Ibnu. Like, important but not urgent. Okay, important but not urgent. So tell me, I would love to hear, because you have a lot going on. What are some
Mm-hmm.
practical tips and strategies for work-life balance?
I feel like our tips and tricks are pretty similar, but
Mhm.
for me, I can write down, like I can journal for like personal things, but when it comes to my tasks, for some reason, it just doesn't register when I write it down. I'm an app girly. I'll use my notes app, or Asana does help for me personally, and I like to map it out for at least like 2 to 3 weeks out. And of
Mhm.
course, I'll adjust it as things change in my life. But I'm like, okay, I know I have work from this time to this time. I want to do A, B, and C. I know this bill is coming up. Okay, so I need to make sure that I have the money for that or this. Or it's like, okay, at the end of the month, for the most part, every month, I like to do something nice for myself. If it's just like a trip to Forever 21 or like, get that new foundation at Sephora. So
Mhm.
that's something that I pencil in too. So I just feel like adding the tree on really does help. It makes me want to write my stuff down and get
Mhm.
things done. And another big tip of mine, oh, can you
I
see
think
me?
you're there. You're there.
Oh,
I hear you.
I see the embrace the legacy sign, but it's okay. I'm just gonna keep
Okay.
going. Another big tip for myself when it comes to being booked and busy, I do like to delegate, and I feel like it's a hard for people to do that. But sometimes in my home life, especially like how you're like, oh, like make sure that you have the chicken out or that you have things
Mm-hmm.
cooked. There's some times where I like to do overtime at work, so it's like I might not be able to, but I do live with a bunch of amazing other women. So I'll text my cousin and be like, hey, would you mind taking out the chicken for me? Because I know it needs to be cooked later.
Mm-hmm.
Or can you set aside some mop water, like make the mop water so when I come home, I could just mop. Little things like that really makes it a lot easier for me to unwind when I get home. It's like, don't be afraid to ask for help because people are there to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding how you work best. So for me, if I'm writing an essay, for example, I'll set aside 2 hours to like, get most of it done. And then I'll take like a 30-minute break,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a nap or I have a meal, just because I cannot sit and do that for 2 hours. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna kill me. Or even if I have to stand while writing, I have a taller desk so that I'm just not sitting, I could type and
Ah.
stand. Like figuring out what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't take away anything, take away this. The same way that people will talk about the gym when it comes to motivation versus discipline, even though we don't want to do it, we know that we have to. So it's like you need to get over that, like, oh, I don't feel like it. I'm feeling lazy. I'm procrastinating. You know that it needs to get done. So just do it.
Yep.
One, think about, like how you said, think about that feeling of when it's over. It's like, oh, one less thing I need to worry about. Just focus on that end goal. It's like, all right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be cool once it's over. So that's what really motivates me. It's like, all right, once this is over, I don't got to worry about it anymore. So that's what definitely helps me. That's pretty much it. And I agree about the egg roll for sure. It's important, but it doesn't need to get done right.
Yeah. Okay. That's why I could wait till tomorrow.
Right. But make sure it gets done tomorrow.
Okay, exactly.
I do have an important question. And I feel like we don't really talk about boundaries when it comes to work, but how do you set those boundaries between the work life and the personal life, especially when you're working from home?
Whew, I know that's a lot of us, especially in these last couple of years. I set office hours. Like, I says, yeah, no, y'all can text me all y'all want in the morning. Maybe you're not hearing from me till after 10:30 a.m. Maybe after 11, because that's my time. Like I have, so I think it's important to have a routine. I have morning and evening routines, and I set office hours. There are certain days I say, well, I'm not working until 12. I'm not getting in front of my computer till 12, and I'm gonna be in front of my computer from 12 to 6. And that wasn't easy for me to get there, but I'm like, I know myself to know my level of productivity in an hour will outdo what other people could do in 6. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important. I know I'm an entrepreneur and I have flexibility on my schedule, but I think it's important to set office hours. And after a certain time, work shut your work off. Like, don't wake up if you know you work from home and you have to be in front of your computer at 9 a.m. Don't wake up at 8:55. Wake up a couple of hours early. I think the stats prove that most people who are rich. I read this study. I forget the book. I think it was in Terry Savelle's Voice, Dream Independent, Live It, where like most, or it was one of the books. I've read a lot. As you can see, I have a whole bookshelf behind me. But the study I remember said that wealthy people tend to get up 3 hours before their workday starts. So if you know your workday starts at 9, okay, maybe you don't want to wake up at 6, but wake up at 7. Like that's their time
Mm-hmm.
to debrief, spend time with God, journal, read your Bible, whatever, work out, uh, whatever.
Have a
Make
coffee, do your
regular,
morning routine,
yeah, yeah. So I think it's important to have some sort of morning routine, so all right, I have time. So that way, if when you wake up at 8:55 and you gotta be at work at 9, you feel frazzled, you don't feel your best, you're like, you're trying to be on the Zoom, or trying to act like you are being productive, and you're not, you still putting on your lipstick because you just woke up, you're still brushing your teeth. So I say wake up earlier. Then you have to report to work, have a morning routine, have an evening routine, set strict office hours and boundaries about that. And then working from home, have a space in your home where's your work from home space, so that, if it's the dining table, if it's another room. And so that'd be like your workspace, so you can come in and out of work. Like, okay, when I'm sitting here in this part of my house, I know I'm working, right? But there's other places in my house where I'm just chilling, kicking it. So have a designated workspace. And honestly, another thing I do, I treat it like treat it like I'm in an office. In the office, I would take lunch breaks. I would take, water breaks. So I think taking breaks, getting up, walking around is very important. Don't answer personal calls or texts while you're working if you're really, really busy. Call them back later. Yeah, and then I focus on my priorities for today. And there's certain days where, like I said, work trumps personal, where I'm like, my phone, I'm like, I'm not taking no calls. That was at the top of the year. I was very busy. I had like 1,000,001 proposals to write and all these other things. So baby, my phone was on D&D all day because I needed to get things done. And I'm like, if you love me, you'll understand. I'll get to you tomorrow. So I think that's important, is to focus on your priorities daily, so you know what your work life. Sometimes your personal might be a little bit important if something's going on in your personal life. Maybe if someone who has children, maybe your family, your partner, maybe your friends, or something like that. Yeah, focus on that day. Yeah, so that's what I would say in regards to that. What about you?
For me, I have worked at home with you
Mm-hmm.
for Embrace, and that was my first time working from home, and honestly, doing the school thing and working from home, it just didn't feel, I don't I, it was hard for me. So it's like how you're saying, like, oh, don't wake up at 8:55. There were times where, I had all the materials ready for, let's say, our Monday meeting, but I'm waking up, let's say the meeting's at 11, I'm waking up at 10:30.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, I'm like, I'm on the meeting, but I'm like, I'm here, but I'm not here. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
still tired. I didn't even get to have a coffee yet. Like, I have a headache. Like, so I feel like taking the time, even if it is at least an hour before,
Mm-hmm.
to get yourself ready, because you can really show up as your best self. And now I don't start work until 7 o'clock, but I like to wake up at like 5, just because I want to be able to sit. When you wake up and you have one of those sleeps and you're just sitting on the edge of your bed looking around, I need to like do that for 10 minutes. It's like you can't do that if you're waking up at 8:55. So I feel like that's super important. With my 9 to 5 that I have like outside from home, for me, once that 5 o'clock hour hits, it's over. No more work stuff. I'm leaving. That's it. I manage my time, and I'll write things down on my phone. Like, okay, I know that I need to do X, Y, and Z before I get out of here today. I need to make sure that it's done. For me, I like to have all my stuff done by 4 p.m. so that last hour, if anything arises, then I can get it done and I can leave on time, because I'm an advocate for getting out of work on time, unless I'm doing overtime. And I feel like sometimes jobs could take advantage, like, oh, but when you get home, you can figure that out, or you can do X, Y, and Z, or you can answer that email. But it's like, no, I'm working from 9 to 5. Anything work related should be in those hours, and after that, it should be my time. And I feel like that's really important, and you should always advocate for your personal time in that regard. There will be times when you have a big project or something where you might need to take in that extra time afterward, but if you can manage your time properly, it definitely can be done. And if it's important to you, like we said before, you can make it happen. Tomorrow is actually my best friend's birthday. And funny enough, my job is like, oh, like, we need you to do overtime, XYZ. And I was like, unfortunately, I have prior engagements and I can't. And, to be fair, I'm not the only employee. So I know that they can find somebody else. So it's like, being open. No is a complete sentence.
No.
So being okay with saying, no, not today, but I can do it another time, but just not today. So I feel like that's super important. And working from home, to go back into the question, I feel like, people are always watching, or they know. All right, for us, social media, it's like if something doesn't come out at 12:30, you're like, hello, what's going on? So it's like, just make sure that you're on top of your stuff. If you're working from home, yeah, try your best not to answer the personal calls and texts, because I know that if I get on the phone with my best friend, I'm getting wrapped into that. So it's like the work is gonna fly over here. So it's like, definitely make sure that if you are in the work hours, make sure that you're really prioritizing your work, because personal life will be there right after.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Good. I love that. And don't be afraid. Like me and one of my good girlfriends, when she was working from home as well, it would be 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And honestly, we would be doing a lot of the times in the day, helping each other with work stuff. So we would be like, girl, I need to say this in a corporate America way. Like, how can I say these people are tripping in a corporate America way? I'm like, this is how you're going to frame the email. So, yeah, I think working from home has its advantages like that. So I would say don't be rigid too. So yeah, there are times, like I said, me and my girlfriends, we would be on that phone. I'm talking to my homegirl Ibnu at 12 o'clock. And she's like, what you doing? I'm like, girl, she's like, well, let me tell you, and we'll start branching out ideas and stuff like that. So I think like try to be flexible, but always be responsible when you're working from home.
I like that. Flexible but responsible. Okay. So there's people that work from home. There are people that either going to college or even going to work inside the office. So how can someone make sure that they're taking care of their mental and their physical well-being while handling their busy schedule?
Learn to say no.
It's a complete sentence, okay?
Learn to say no. You can't be everything to everyone all the time. Now, I will say this. While learning to say no, you got to know when to learn to say yes too. Like, you got to know, you have to discern, and I'm talking to Gen Z, when it's time to say yes to a certain opportunity. When I was an intern, and when I was starting my career, 17 years ago, I can't believe 2007 was 17 years. I worked, and this is before social media was like Twitter and MySpace and Facebook back then. But like, there was no virtual. So I worked full-time. I worked pretty much full-time, had an internship part-time, and then had school full-time. I was balancing 18 credits in Long Island. I didn't have a car, so I'm taking the Long Island Railroad back and forth into the city. And it's like, I wanted it. So I learned to say no to, I started learning to say yes to certain opportunities. Especially that was my senior year. So school, as long as I got my schoolwork done, I was doing my schoolwork. But then, maybe if I was participating in a dance club or whatever, I'd be like, no, I can't do this dance event with y'all, even though I used to do it prior to these I used to do it prior as I participated, but now, you know what? I want to focus on my career. So now I'm saying yes to going to the video shoot. Now I'm saying yes to staying a little longer at the internship, So learn to say no, but also you can't be everything to everyone at the time, but learn when to say yes. And like sometimes, oh God, and when you're young, you can do that. When you don't have and I don't want to say real responsibility, but when you're young and you do not have the children or the spouse to answer to, take advantage of that time. Like, man, I was tired, but I loved it. I was coming home on the Long Island Railroad from the city back to Long Island. It's 10, 11 o'clock at night, but baby, I loved it because I was going after my goals and my dreams. So I would say, like, man, be passionate about something. You would be like, dang, I didn't get no sleep, and I'm coming back, studying, doing finals and all the other stuff, but I wanted it. So I would say that, like, learn when to say no, but also learn when to say yes. Have boundaries and be honest with yourself about what you can maintain. Some of us like to say yes to everything because we're people pleasers. You can't please everybody all the time. So when your family asks you to make the macaroni and cheese, maybe you just got to say no, like, you want to be a woman of your word, right? So for me, I'd rather someone say no than someone say yes and then pull out last minute. That lacks integrity to me. That frustrates me. Everybody in the world, I'm about to say America and wherever you are listening to, this generation, we got to do better at being people of integrity. And what does that mean? Not only doing right when no one else is looking, but doing what you said you were going to do and being a man or woman of your word. This generation has to get better at that. We are flaky, we are irresponsible, and it breeds insecurity, and people cannot trust you. I may not feel like making the damn mac and cheese, but because I gave you my word and said I was going to make the mac and cheese, I'm going to do it. I may not feel like answering your email or helping you with that project or coming to your house and helping you Sometimes I coach young women, and I don't feel like being on a Zoom with you right now. I wanted Netflix and chill, but I made a commitment to my mentee and said, I was gonna help her with her college essay. So, baby, I'm gonna do it. So, generation, everybody, baby boomers, millennials, Generation Z. I think they starting over with the Alpha generation. All of us, we got to do better and be people of our word. I'd rather you tell me no, I cannot do it, than say I'm gonna do it and then you flake. You gotta do better. We gotta do better. So that's what I say. Walk with integrity. Because sometimes, like, if you know you can't, and if you have that feeling, if someone asks you, "Hey, can you babysit my kids?" Or, "Hey, can you like I said, make the potato salad. Hey, can you help me with this report? Hey, can you help me with my college essay?" And you already feeling overwhelmed, say, "You know what? Let me think about it. Let me get back to you." Before you say yes, and then people are waiting for you to show up and you do not show up. That is a pet peeve of mine. And I've been experiencing a lot lately. And I'm like, why do people not have integrity? So that's something that frustrates me. And making sure, like, pay attention to your body, pay attention to your spirit, like, pay attention. Sometimes that's God in you telling you, no, girl, you're not supposed to be doing all of that. Stop over committing yourself. Like, sometimes I don't know what it is. Like, no, I'm not doing that. No, I don't need to explain you. No, I'm not available. No, I don't want to, so be comfortable with that. Like I said, have your morning routine in place so that you can ensure that your mental and your physical well-being. My morning routine is everything to me. That's my time with my Father God. Nobody's coming in between me and his time. Like, I'm like, that's nice. So if I don't have my morning routine, if I don't spend time with God in the morning, if I don't give him at least 10 minutes of my time, I ain't right for the rest of the day. So if I'm not right, nothing else is right. So I need to make sure he comes first. That's my foundation. That's my grounding. At the end of the day, to make sure you're taking care of yourself, have time to decompress, like we said. Even if you can't take the hour, and even if it's just 20, 30 minutes, have time to decompress. Make your sleeping space scrumptious. Like, I think Jackie Ina does a great, I think she is the influencer that does a great job, that shows us how to make something as simple as your bed a place that is like your safe haven. So one of my girlfriends, she was talking about something she puts in her sheets. There's something that she puts in her sheets that has this aroma situation therapy going on. So if it's your bed should be like it should be your place you could relax, you could take your safe haven, you could woosah. So I would definitely invest into making sure your bed, you have the right sheets, you have the right comforters, you have the right pillows, whatever aromatherapy that you need, like, on your bed, so that when you finally hit that bed, you like, oh, this is great. Invest in a good mattress. So yeah, do that. And always remember this: tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow's another day. I've gotten a lot better at that now. Just being like, I don't have to do everything in one day. I don't. That's it. And I'm okay with that. Nobody died. I'm not performing open heart surgery. So yeah, that's what I would say. What about you? How can we make sure that we are taking care of our mental and physical well-being while maintaining a busy schedule?
Honestly speaking, I am still figuring this out, because there's times where I am on top of it, and there's other times where, like I said, I'm going to work, coming home, taking a shower, eating, and go to bed. So, but for me, I know your morning routine is very, very important to you. My night routine is actually really important to me, because I work the early schedule. I feel like my time to, like, debrief and relax is the nighttime. So I know that I'm getting super overwhelmed when I start to break out, or it's like if my skin starts to get, like, super dry. It's like I know that something is wrong. Even though I'm like, no, I'm good, like, I'm chilling. It's like my skin will tell me, no, girl, you need to do your skincare and you need to take a seat. So listen to your body, whether you're starting to get headaches or you feel like you always need a cup of coffee, or it's like you haven't been drinking a lot of water, or your skin starts to change. Like those are super important things. Drink your water. Those are super important things that I know that if those my body starts to change in those ways, it's like, okay, maybe I am a little bit overwhelmed. And I feel like in order to help yourself in the mental and physical sense, you have to kind of unpack what it is that's overwhelming you. So is it that you're not making the proper time to do certain things? Are you not waking up early enough? So it's like you're going into the workday tired. Like you really have to unpack what that is. For me, I sat down one day after work and I'm like, okay, I was exhausted the entire day. Why? Was work overwhelming? Not really. What time did you wake up? I started work at 7, but I didn't wake up until 8. And I had to rush to get dressed. And it's like I also have to drive to work. And it's like I didn't give myself enough time. So I felt like I was rushing into the day. And for me, if I'm rushing into it, it's like I feel like I'm on goal the entire day. So I'm like, okay. So like those little things really do matter. Sit and talk to yourself. You the CEO of your life. So sit down and be like, okay, what did we do? What did we do today? How can we figure that out? For mental, like I said, 9 to 5, once 5 o'clock hits, like the work stuff is shutting off. I need to, just feed into myself, whether it's like I want to just sit down and watch TV, or I want to have like a good snack. Or for me, the mental portion, sometimes I really just want to talk to my friends like, hey girl, how was your day? What did you do? What do you have going on? What are you going to eat? Like those, utilizing your team and your circle, because those little conversations really do help. Like I could have a bad day at work, but once I get on the phone with my best friend, girl, let me tell you this, it changes my mood. It really uplifts you. That's super important. I know a lot of people like going to the gym. Don't let that long work day deter you from going to the gym, even if it's walking on the treadmill for 30 minutes. Like those are super important. I feel like the best way to maintain a busy schedule is, of course, to block out appropriate time for you to be sleeping, the amount of time that you're going to be at work, and what you could do in the time that you have left. Don't feel like you have to be doing a million and one things, even if you have like 5 hours left in your day and an hour of it you just want to sit. But make sure that you're utilizing it in the way that works best for you, and it's going to look completely different. And don't let anybody tell you that you're using your time in a bad way, like your personal time in a bad way, because it's yours. It's personal. So don't let anybody try to dictate how you use it.
I love that. And two, like something you said, Isis, that I think people fail to, like, getting things done the night before will help you for the next day. So if I know I have like an early meeting where I have to leave my house the night before, I'm already thinking about my outfit, so that in the morning, because that will frazzle me in the morning. If I'm, oh my God, what am I gonna wear? And I got to think about the room that I'm in. I'm conscious of that. I don't walk into every room the same, and I mean that in a way that certain rooms, I'm like, all right, this is going to require a certain level of decorum professionally. So let me make sure I have, the certain outfit to work with that. I'm not going to walk in that room with a red lip. So I already think about like my makeup look, my look for the ladies. Y'all know what time it is. Certain rooms, you like, all right, let me make sure I am abiding by the room. And other rooms is a little bit more girly, a little bit more, all right, I can have some more pizzazz. All right, so let me wear them pink pumps. So I think planning from the day before helps so that you don't feel mentally overwhelmed. One of my good girlfriends, she gets frazzled and she will she will call me. She'll be like, girl, I need your help with my schedule. I'm good at scheduling. I'm good at managing people's lives. She'll be like, all right, I have this on Saturday. How am I right? Do this on Tuesday. Do this on Wednesday. Nope, make that on Thursday, because you're gonna be too frustrated if that doesn't get done. If something goes wrong, leave room for error, because something can always happen. So yeah, I think like just planning ahead it works well when you're trying to balance. You're trying to make sure your mental and your physical is okay with work-life balance.
I did want to say one more thing. At first, when I started my 9 to 5 job, I felt like I was just waking up, throwing on my uniform, and just going to work. But I feel like if you're a college girly, you're working from home, going into the office, take time and set aside some time to put effort into your appearance or your outfit, only because it's going to make you feel better. Like if you're waking up, brushing your teeth, doing your skincare, even if it's just a little gloss or something, or just putting something on that makes you feel good. Like I work in the medical field, so I can't really do too much, but I know that we can wear certain types of jewelry. So I make sure that I put that on because, it adds a little spice to my uniform and it makes me feel good. So if there's any opportunity for you to put a little bit of personal pizzazz onto that outfit or, makeup, whatever the case may be, to make yourself feel good, definitely do it because you walk into the room differently. You step into that Zoom meeting differently. You go into class differently because it really makes you feel good. So that's another tip I have.
And I don't know if Isis can see, but I just put on a lip gloss brought to you by CoverGirl,
That's a tip.
another one of our. Right? I'm telling you, brought to you by CoverGirl. Shout out to CoverGirl. They are partnering with us again for the Summer Institute. So I just put on my CoverGirl lip gloss. Like, yes, honey, because it makes a difference. You're like, okay. So shout out to CoverGirl. I'm not sure. This is called the Exhibitionist Lip Gloss that I have
Okay.
on. So yeah, I believe that works. That makes, and honestly, when I wake up, and even like Easter Sunday that
Mm-hmm.
just passed, well, Resurrection Sunday, I know I was going to the earlier service. So from the night before, I was like, all right, Marie, you got to be at church at 8. That means you got to leave your house maybe by 7:15. You not going to want to look for an outfit in the morning. The night before, I'm like, all right, what's going to be what's going to be my Easter Sunday outfit? So I think that little things like that, so you don't feel overwhelmed. So that, because what happens is when you feel overwhelmed, you can't be present in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're overwhelmed, when you get to work, you frazzled, you can't be present. You can't be present at church. You can't be present at the date, wherever you are. That's another one. I love planning a date night outfit, baby. I know I got to get on
Mm-hmm.
Friday. I am thinking about that outfit from the week before. I'm like, oh, what am I going to wear?
Me
Let me
too.
go. What am I hurting with? What am I hurting with? So that's just
Mm-hmm.
something. A little kiki to throw in there.
Mm-hmm. So, like you said, like if you are going into these spaces and you frazzled, like you're not gonna be able to, show up as your best self. So, has there ever been a time where work consumed you, and how did that make you feel? And did anyone else in your life feel it too?
Oh, baby. Yes, it did. When I was working in the music industry, when I first started my career in the music industry, I didn't care. And not every industry is the same. And as you were talking about work-life balance, I was like, there are certain industries where you go to work from 9 to 5, and that's it. A lot of industries are not like that, and the music
Mm-hmm.
industry was not like that. It was more like, I think we would get to the office between like 9:30 and 10:30. The day didn't really start until like 11-ish, right? That's when everybody would be at the office, and we wouldn't leave. If I left the office at like 7, I left at a good time. So normally, and my bosses were great. I loved them. My bosses when I was working, there was bosses when I was interning, and there were bosses when I was working. My bosses when I was interning, they would definitely be the crew that would stay there till 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. But my bosses when I had got hired as an employee, they were really good at making sure, hey Maria, make sure you leave. And then with that, also in certain industries, work doesn't end, meaning that there's an event to go to after work, which is very common. So it's like, okay, yeah, well, I might be leaving the office at 7:30, but we got to go to such and such somebody's listening release party, or you might have to go to the studio, or you might have to run around with this artist. So your time is not your own. But when I see this to say, when I first started, I didn't mind. I was young, but after a while, after a couple of years of doing that, you like, this is getting old. I want to go home. It used to be so funny. We would be going to get our lunch at like 4 o'clock, and we would laugh because it's an office building, so there's other companies, and we would laugh and see the other employees from other companies like leaving for the day, and we're just gonna go get something to eat and come back up. So yeah, it consumed me. It didn't feel right. It felt it. I tell people I felt like my soul was coming out of me, and I felt soulless. Like I was just I was a robot per se. So I felt like my life wasn't my own, and I want to have a certain level of compassion for people who are in industries like this, especially most of the time this tends to be people who are in entertainment, perhaps is even in the space of law and stuff like that. I know some lawyers who get to work at 7 and don't come home till 11, 12, 1. Some people are in finance. who you work at 7 and you don't come, you have cars taking you home at 12, 1 in the morning. So I want to have a certain level of compassion for those type of people. And all I know is for me, it wasn't best for me. It wasn't best for my well being. I felt discontented, frustrated, unfulfilled. Like I said at the beginning of my career, I was like, oh, this is cool, but baby, after a couple of years, I'm like, oh, this is getting real old. So I just decided to do something about it. I refuse to be one of those people who complain about their job and was just going to complain. I was like, oh, girl, you young. I was like, you are still in your 20s. I was still in my 20s at the time. So I decided to change my circumstances, and that's how I started working on Embrace Her Legacy. And actually, when I was at work, I started working on Embrace Her Legacy at work. So, like, I would be at work, I would Google how to file an LLC, how to file an LLC, excuse me. What's the difference between an LLC and an S Corp? I would take my time to do Embrace Her Legacy stuff to kind of balance that. And that's what kept me going through that time, because I knew I had an end goal. You know, I was like, well, I'm not going to stay here forever and ever. I have an end goal. I'm going to go do my thing and, build my career. The people in my life at that time, I tend to surround myself with people who are very supportive. At the time, I was in a relationship, and, I give him his credit that he never made me feel like work was coming before him. Like, he never, and honestly, we would balance it out. So we would find ways to make time with each other. We knew, okay, Sundays was going to be our day, or, I would come over after work some nights and stuff like that. So I give that person his credit. He was always super supportive. My family was always super supportive. They understood the nature of the game that I was in. Everybody knew she's not available at 2:00 in the afternoon. So I will say, yeah, I was great. I'm blessed enough that my friends, my family, my ex at the time, he was very supportive. But they probably felt my unhappiness. That they probably did. They did feel, and and even in that, they were supportive when I was making my transitions and stuff like that. And also too, I was also looking for other opportunities. I didn't think I was going to go straight into entrepreneurship. I was actually looking for other jobs in the industry. So that got me through that time, an end goal. I remember, you made your decision, you're not going to be here after such date. What's going to be your game plan? So for somebody who's in that situation, I just want to encourage you that if you're not happy, listen to your spirit, listen to your soul. My soul was speaking to me, and my soul was like, girl, your time here is up. It is expired. And it's time to make the changes so that you can. One of the things I wanted was work-life balance. I did not have it at that time. That industry, like I said, it was very demanding. I'm expected to be available at all hours, all the time. And I was like, but we're not performing open heart surgery. But certain industries are highly demanding, and it's the culture, and it's expected of you. So if anybody's in that space, I just want to give you compassion and try to make the best of it. And if you're not happy to the point that is making you feel, your soul is aggravated, do something about it.
100%.
What about you? Have you ever felt overwhelmed at work? A time, it consumed you? How did it make you feel?
I feel like as of recently, like within the last 3 to 4 months, I've definitely been feeling it a lot more because my position at work changed, and I felt like I was taking on more work. And like I said earlier in the live, I like to do overtime because I'm young. I don't have kids. I don't really have crazy responsibilities. So it's like, if I want to go and make my time and a half, I can do that, because even though it's not the best thing, when I see that check, when it comes in with a little overtime, I'm like, okay, cool. I do like it because I'm a luxy girl. I like to buy things, and I like to be comfortable buying these luxy things but still getting my bills paid, So I felt like within the last 3 months, taking on that new role and still trying to, juggle everything and still, trying to make extra money too. It was like, oh my gosh, I am tired. I found myself drinking a lot more coffee. I found myself for me, I love getting my nails done. I wasn't getting my nails done as often. I wasn't going to get my hair done as often. And I'm just like, these are things that are a priority to me. And it's like, how can I sit up here and profess oh, these are important to me, where I'm not even doing them? And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's just hair, it's just nails. But it's like, these are things that I admire. These are things that make me happy, like the physical portion. So it's just like, why am I not doing these things? And I'm in a relationship, and he didn't necessarily make me feel bad about it, but it would be more so like, I can see that you're tired. Like, I can see that if we're going on a date, you're having fun, but you're not fully there. It's like, because I know you're thinking about, I'm ready to go to bed. And he was like, there's nothing wrong with that because I know that you're tired. But he was like, I wanna hang out with you, and I wanna do things with you and have you be fully engaged. And he was like, and I don't wanna feel like I'm asking so much of you. And I was just like, wow, like I've never had anybody address me in that way when it came to work, because I never had anybody that cared, or a spouse that was like worried about that. And I'm like, okay, first of all, big girl, big girl relationship, one. And two, I'm like, okay, if other people are noticing it and I've been feeling it on the inside, now I'm like, okay, now it's time to make a change, because I'm the same way. I might be feeling tired, but I'm not going to openly complain. I'm just, for me, I just thug it out. I'm like, this is just a season, it'll pass. He made me realize, like, no, you have the opportunity to do something about it. You just took on a new role. You can go to your higher up and be like, hey, I'm taking on this new role. I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Like, how can I, make this work for me? So I think that same week I went into work, I was like, hey, I'm really enjoying this new role, but I feel like it is a lot different from the one I previously had, and it's a little bit more time consuming. And we spoke about it, and she was like, okay, I've been there before. Like, this is how I feel like you can do it. I started doing it in the way that she described. It wasn't working for me. So then I just, mixed it up, started doing my own thing, and then I got a lot better. And I felt like, because I was taking the time in the morning to wake up, to give myself the time to just sit and breathe and be like, okay, I'm awake, have breakfast. I feel like that's an important part of like fueling your body and starting your day, to feel like, okay, I'm not just a worker. I'm a human. Like, there's more to me than just work. And I feel like for those few months, I was like, the only thing I can do is work. Like, no, the date, we can do that next week. Or like my friends, like, I'll hang out with you. We'll go to like, a little happy hour next week. And next week kept coming and coming. It's like, whoa, like you have a life. And I'm like, I'm also young. Like, this doesn't have to be my everything, you know? So I feel like having good people in your circle that can see when you're shifting and see when you're changing and can call you out on it comfortably, that really helps me a lot. I truthfully thank him for that, because I'm like, you know what? I've been feeling it, and I was like gonna push it to the side, but I'm like, if you're seeing it, I know it's a real problem that I should be addressing. And that's it. I just feel like work is only, like I said, only a part of your day. But who are you outside of work? What do you like to do outside of work? What makes you feel fulfilled outside of work? Think about that. And that can really help you get out of that little, work funk.
Good. That's good. I like that. I like that you're supportive like that.
Thank you. Okay. I have some hot tea because I've been seeing it all over social media. How do you feel about the PTO, the paid time off debate, and just taking PTO? Because I feel like a lot of jobs are like, oh, you're going on vacation, like you're using your hours, like why are you doing that? So how do you feel about it?
Take the darn PTO and take it unapologetic. That's why it's there, right? I think we have to God, and I think this is something that Americans deal with, because I know one thing I appreciate about traveling and going to other countries or speaking to people from other countries is how much in other spaces they appreciate and make room for work-life balance. In this country where we pledge allegiance to being busy and working, we make our worth in our validation, and we think we are what we do, and it's like, no, that's not who you are. So don't feel a way about it, period. That's why it's called your personal time off. That's why it's called your time off. So I think that it's important that in the beginning, how can I say this, at the beginning of your career, watch it, because you're building your career, right? And you're building your name. I will say that at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of career, you want to be mindful about building your reputation. So if you're just starting your first big girl job, do I recommend taking PTO the first month, the first 2 months? No, I recommend you showing up the first couple months and doing what you need to do. In some work environments may encourage you to say, "Girl, yeah, you can take your time off, but you gotta know the space you're in.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta know the room. Use discernment. You like, all right, these people, I don't know. Let me set my strong foundation here before I start to make certain type of moves. So I understand that. However, and a comma, as you progress in your career, and as you start getting these big girl jobs, where it's like you have respect on your name, put the dang on PTO and keep it pushing because you earned it. You paid your dues at the beginning of your career. Yes, you're gonna have to pay your dues. No, you shouldn't be. I want to say the first 6 months. I think that's a little too. That's a little that's taking it a little too far. But the first couple months, set your strong foundation, show up, do your thing. But after a couple months, yes, it's okay to take time off. I would definitely do like the 3 months, the 90-day rule to try to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, because me and my girlfriend, we were talking about this the other day, and it's like I'm grown, I'm very grown, and she was talking about being very grown as well, and she was just like, I'm taking my time off, and even that. She's taking time off, but she still has some trepidation about taking certain amount of time off because she's been taking a lot of time off and she just started this job a couple months ago, right? And his life situations are happening. So I think it's important. If let's say you're someone who travels frequently and you're about to get on this new job, be in part of your contract when you sign on to a job is like, hey, I travel at the end of the year with my family doing this. I need to make sure that I have this amount of PTO. We don't know. A closed mouth does not get fed. So if you want to negotiate a little bit more of PTO, maybe you say, all right, this is my salary, but can I have 5 more days of PTO? And negotiate that, especially like I said, as you grow in your career. When you're just starting and you're earning your stripes and you're paying your dues, you may not have the flexibility to do that. But as you grow and as you start, like I said, you're paying your dues, you keep the receipt. Yeah, communicate that at the beginning and say, hey, I'm going to accept this job offer, but just to let you know, I'm also going to, I need these many days of PTO, I travel or whatever. And with the PTO, as long as you're being responsible and you're following protocol. So if your job says that you have to put in a request 2 weeks before, do the 2 weeks before. If you know you're going on a vacation for a week, make sure you're not leaving your coworkers hanging. Make sure you leave them with everything that they need done, any projects, and yeah, don't feel guilty about it and enjoy the time off. Turn off your work phone. Don't look at your emails if it's your time off, and stand on business on that. What about you?
For me, for my job when I started, they had like a probational period. So basically like a 90-day trial. So I feel like that's a good time frame to be like, okay, like now I can start taking PTO because we had a new girl start and when that 90-day hit, oh, the PTO request was in. And I was like, you know what? I respect it because as soon as you hit that 90 days, the hours load in into like your employee account. So it's like they're there for you to use. So it's like, hey, go ahead and do it. I think on social media, it's funny they call it like preparing the others instead of PTO, personal time off. So I'm like, that is true. Like you're putting in that request so that you could prepare your teams to have things, done when you're not there. I don't think it's a bad thing. I feel like it goes into like the work-life balance. Like you can't always be at work all the time. Like you deserve that vacation. Or some people take PTO and just stay home because they just want to stay home and not be at work, and that's okay too. But I definitely feel like spacing out the PTO would be good. Like I wouldn't put in PTO this week and then put in PTO like again in 2 weeks. Of course, things change, and of course, life things happen, so adjust it accordingly. But I do want to still show up for my team and be reliable and be somebody that is there when need be. But I don't shy away from using the PTO because at my job, if you don't use it, you lose it. So I'm gonna use it. So that's how I feel. And if your higher up at work tries to make you feel bad about using it when you know for a fact that it's written in your employee contract that you are given these PTO days, please use them. Don't let them make you feel bad about, like, oh, are you doing a week vacation? I've had that in a previous job. And I'm like, oh, like, that's a long time. Like, what are you going to be doing for a week? Like, I'm going to be doing my personal business for the week that I chose. And that's just what it's going to be, because the company said that these are my hours and I'm going to use them. So don't let higher ups feel like they can also overstep those boundaries of the PTO, because it's there for a reason.
Agree. Good. Closed mouth don't get fed.
Closed mouths don't get fed. I do have a question. I know it's getting a little late, so I don't know if you feel like wrapping up. But in the PTO sense, I know that a lot of people are like, oh, jobs require you to give 2 weeks before you quit. But when they fire you, it's right away.
Ooh.
So how do you feel about that? I was thinking about that while looking at the PTO question. Do you feel like you should give your 2 weeks, or you could just quit on the spot?
Okay. This is like a per situation. All right. This situation can be customized. It's like a customizable answer tailored to every situation, but for the majority of the time, I'm a queen of believing in not burning bridges and maintaining good relationships with people, because you never know where your next opportunity is going to come from. I think it's irresponsible and I know they can fire you on the same day, but for me, I like my name to be good anywhere. Because I don't know, I may do something here at this, you may do something here with this job, but you don't know, that may turn around in 5 years from now. It may turn around and bite you in the butt. Like, what if that person that you just completely, dipped off on and left the next day, now that person is a situation maybe a year from now to give you a job. You just never know how the cookies are gonna crumble. So I tried to maintain professionalism and steward my relationships and my reputation well. So I think it's important to give the people at least a couple weeks notice. I know when I left Atlanta, I gave my boss maybe like over a month's notice, because I knew my role was a supportive role. So to have someone come in and take over my role is not something that was just going to be done overnight. And I really respected my bosses. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this to them. Like, may have felt frustrated with the culture in the whole company, but them I had respect for enough to say, nah, I respect you enough to let you know I'm not going to be here after this date. Let's start making sure that I prepare whoever is going to take my space so that you don't feel overwhelmed, because it's not fair to them, right? So I'm supporting them. I manage their calendars. I do their flights. I do their expenses. I'm helping them with these promotional tours. I'm working with the artists. I'm doing this. That's not fair for y'all and that's not fair to my teammate at the time, because now it's going to fall on him. And all these people I'm talking about, I still have close relationships with to this day, like super close. The girl who took over my job, me and her are super close, to the point her family is one of the biggest donors of Embrace Her Legacy.
Oh, wow.
See, that's what I'm saying. You never know. I didn't know Embrace Her Legacy was going to be a nonprofit, but imagine I would have been, shady. We would have been here 10 years later. The person I'm talking about, my coworker, my old coworker. He's someone that I consider almost like a brother. He is amazing. When I was last year, when I was in Houston, I'm like, he's in Houston. I'm like, bro, I'm in town. He's like, Copper, we're going to go here. He gave me an opportunity, which led to doing some more consulting work. So it's just like, and I know he's somebody I could call a drop of a dime, and if I need something, he's there. My old bosses, we follow each other on social media. They invite me to events. Your relationships are the network for life. The older you get in your career, I'm going to put you on here. It's not what you know, it's who you know. You are now, when you get to mid and senior level in your career, your jobs are probably not going to come because you applied. They're going to come because somebody referred you. That's how you're going to get in the door. And if you're one of those people who just flops and walks away from opportunities because you were in your feelings, that's going to follow you. People like, nah, I can't rock with her. Boom, you never know where your ex opportunities come from. So I say that to say, my answer is, try to live with integrity and give the people 2 weeks. Make sure you leave everybody good, and yeah, I would go with that. And there's certain situations where it might not go like that, but I think those are the exceptions to the rule and not the rule.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about you? What would you say about that?
For me, I'm guilty. I've quit a job on the spot before, but I will get into why that was. For me,
Okay.
I'm big on leaving a good mark. I really like to give the 2 weeks. I was working at a retail store for a little bit, and I loved that job. I really did. But after a while, I feel like the company and how they were shifting to, like cater to the newer generation, it just wasn't aligning with me anymore. And I feel like it was taking a toll on me personally. And I'm like, you know what? It was a good run. I learned a lot, but it's time for me to take my next step. And I did, what normal people do, like, hey, like, here's my 2 weeks, blah, blah, blah. And it was they were like, oh my gosh, like you're leaving. But because I gave them the 2 weeks, it gave them time to find someone else. One, enough time for them to come in for me to, like, help train them. And to this day, following those people on social media, like, oh, like, how are you? Let's go and grab a drink, stuff like that. Still having good relationships. If I needed a reference letter or something else along those lines, like I know that those are the people that I can reach out to and they can vouch for me because I left on a good note. Now, there are going to be times where some jobs might have you a little messed up. I would suggest that you still give your 2 weeks if it applies. Now, in my situation, I was working not a retail, it was more food industry. And my manager was known to have a particular attitude with some of the workers. And I was working in the kitchen, which is something that was new to me. I've never worked in a kitchen position. I was mostly like host and front of house. But I was like, I want to try something new, learn something new. And it was taking a little bit of a while for me to get adjusted because, of course, with food, it's very particular. You have to prepare things properly, all that good stuff. And one day I went up to my manager and I was like, hey, I have a question because I know we got this new product and I want to make sure that I'm, preparing it properly because we usually have protocols. And they were like, I don't understand why you feel like you need to come up to me and ask me a million and one questions. Like, it should be self-explanatory. Have you never cooked before? And I'm just like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, and I'm being respectful. I'm like, of course I've cooked before, but I'm like, I know that there's different safety protocols for the job particularly. And I'm like, this is something we've never had here before. So I want to make sure, I'm handling it properly, or is there a certain number of pieces that need to be presented to the customer? Because I know, like, every job is different. And the manager basically was like, well, you need to read. I'm not helping you. Like, I don't understand what the problem is. Like, everybody else feel like they can get it real quick, but I don't understand why you can't. And I was like, well, they were here when there was training. I wasn't here that day. I wasn't scheduled for work that day, so I didn't get to have that training. So I'm like, that's why I'm coming up to you. And they just brushed me off. So, I went about it the best way that I knew how. Of course, it didn't end up working out in my favor. I did it wrong, which is fine. You live and you learn. But what? He was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like, don't come into work tomorrow. Like, one of those. And I was just like, don't come into work tomorrow because I made a mistake. Like, okay. So I went home. Of course, I cried. I was like, I was young. I was only 17. I told my mom, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is my job. I'm very particular about stuff like that. Yeah. So I sat and I was like, jobs come and go. So I texted my manager and I was like, you said don't come into work tomorrow. I feel like the exchange that we had today wasn't a healthy manager to worker relationship. And I feel like that I won't come in at all. Like, I feel like our time is done. And that was it. And they just hearted my message. Like, iMessage, you can, like, put reactions. I was just like, oh, wow, that is so, like, unprofessional. But that was that. So sometimes you do have to advocate for yourself in certain situations and don't be afraid to do it. I would like to say put in your 2 weeks when possible, but sometimes in situations like that, you need to stand up for yourself. So I would just say play your cards right.
Thank you. I love that you shared that. This was good. Yeah, man. I agree, man. Yeah, I agree.
But it's not 22. It's getting late.
I don't know if we want to wrap it up. I do have one last because we were told I see that we have two more questions about putting your personal life in a healthy and positive way while making sure work doesn't. I think honestly, what it comes down to it, y'all, to make sure you're putting work, but you got to communicate with the people in your personal life. Hey, and I think we said that, like, communicate. If someone in your life is feeling like work is coming before them, you have to then ask yourself what your priorities are. And that's the older you get. I think it's important to listen, especially when your partner, your man, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, is starting to express that. I think it's important to hear them out. You want them to be supportive, but also make time for them. I was just watching Insecure. I'm rewatching Insecure, and there's a season where one of the characters, Molly, and her boyfriend, like, she's constantly putting work in front of him, constantly putting work, and you can tell it's frustrating him. And let me tell you something about these men. They don't speak up. Don't speak up. So your man will mentally check out, and then one day what's going to happen is you're going to get the, I don't want to do this anymore. You're going to be like, what the? And then what happened is, like, and I'm not saying it's right, but he's like, he's checked out already, right? Because sometimes, again, you got to know, I tell people, you got to know your man. So pay attention to that. Like, is he really okay with every time you dishing him from work? Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're not. Like, would you be really okay if every time your man ditched you for work? So pay attention to that and communicate with your personal life and the people in your personal life when work is taking a little bit more priority, and have systems in play. Have designated day. Like I said, in my previous situation, we had Sunday. We knew Sunday we were going to be together come hook or crook. Sunday was our day. So I think you should definitely have boundaries and communication around that. Yeah, is there anything else you want to add about, making sure you're putting your personal life first?
Um, I would just say, yeah, like you just have to have systems in place. You have to have discipline because you know you have to get things done and you want to, have the personal life too. But I don't know, like I just feel like the amount of hours that you have to work for. So it's like making sure that you can map the other amount of hours out, like what can be done. Communicating with the people in your circle, your managers or your higher ups, because they matter too, and they do play a role in how like the work experience is for you. And just setting aside days, like how you had the Sunday for your significant other, setting aside maybe like a Saturday for your friends, or just like a Sunday for you, like where you just do whatever you want. Or I know a lot, of course, you're not working 7 days out of a week, you have off days. Like, how are you utilizing your off days? And like just making the most out of your day. And when I say making the most, not just boom, 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 I'm doing something, but just doing something that fulfills you and makes you feel good. I feel like that's the most important part of the life part. And just don't let work consume you, because jobs come and go. You were not put on this earth to work. You're a human. You are more than your job. You are more than that 9 to 5. So just make sure that you remember who you are, and be happy with who you are.
My pastor taught us something. He said God put us in this earth. He wants human flourishing, right? And flourishing, it's in your job, in your family, in your community, in your body, your health, your physical, your physical well-being. So the point in life is for you to flourish, not for you to just be in front of a computer working all day, or drawing blood if you're in the healthcare, or always at building a house if you're in real estate, or selling a house. Like, life is all about balance, and that's why God created. I think God was very genius when he worked 6 days and on the seventh day he rested. Like there's a rhythm to life, and you're supposed to rest. You're supposed to take time off. That's what life is creative. Not you're going to be frazzled. And I cannot stress this. Listen to your soul. There are nights, and anybody who knows me knows that and I'll say this, like, I'm in Harlem a lot, right? Sometimes I'm like, I just need a Harlem night. And my homegirls know what that is. I'm like, I just need to be around my peoples. I need the ha kiki. Like my soul needs a Harlem night. And what I'm saying is I need a time to just decompress, and I don't have to be Maria the CEO, Maria
The
the one.
inspirational
Yes,
homegirl.
this one.
Yeah.
Oh God, when I'm in Harlem, I am Maria. Like it's like, yo, sis, what up? Da, 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 yo, and that restores my soul. So, and I know when my soul is telling me, Maria, you need to just decompress.
Mhm.
So, pay attention to those things that your soul needs, your spirit needs. There's sometimes when my soul is like, Maria, you need to fast and pray. I do that a lot. Where it's like, Maria, you need time for just you, consecration with God, so you can get back focused. So you need time
Mhm.
where you don't answer your phone and I'm not responding to text. So pay attention to those things so that you can have balance. So you know what, girl, you really need to spend time with your family. Pay
Mhm.
attention to that. But I'm gonna leave y'all with this last thing. And this is something I am blessed to have had some amazing women tell me some amazing things. And there was a woman, I won't share her name, but she worked at the music, she was in the music industry with me at the same time. And remember I said like a lot of times it was work, then after work we would still go to different events and things like that. So we would always take a cab back to Brooklyn together. And she would just, she was an OG in the music industry, and she would just drop jewels on me. And she used to say something. She said something. And I'm gonna tell you this. She said, Maria, do not make this job, this office, your life. She was like, all them other girls, they want to stay in this office. Now, she had to be in that office at 10, 11, 12 because her boss used to come in at 8 o'clock at night sometimes, right? But she was cool with it. That was her thing. But she had a life outside of the work, and she told me that she and I was young. I was maybe like 23 at the beginning of my career. She was like, Maria, do not make this job, do not make this industry your life. Have your friends outside of this industry. Go home after work. And she was like, you have a boyfriend, keep him. Don't mess with none of the men in this industry. So it was like I had somebody kind of give me guidance. So I say that to my young women who are listening: do not make work your life. Have jobs. Have a life outside of your work. Not all your coworkers are your friends, because sometimes we don't
Mhm.
know the difference. And we could do a whole other love on that. Have
Oh.
friends outside of your workplace. Have a life outside of your workplace. Do not make work your life. When you are home, enjoy your time home when you can. You know what I'm saying? Like, have a line of demarcation so it's like your life is not consumed with work, especially in them jobs where you feel like you got to be on all the time.
Mhm.
And I took that with me, and I thank God for her. I thank God for her. And I'm gonna find her email, and I'm gonna reach out to her, and I would love for her to come. I'm gonna reach out to this woman, and I'm gonna invite her to come speak to the girls this summer. I told them I'm gonna find her, and I'm gonna tell her, girl, do you remember you told me? I hope she's still in Brooklyn. But now I got a beautiful idea, because I would love to bring her and for her to share that and what she did. And she worked for some of your most high profile rappers and industry execs, and I was so, it meant a lot for me to have someone like that say something to me like, girl,
Mhm.
let's put you on game.
Mhm.
I was like, so that was me putting y'all on game. So,
Well, thank
any,
you.
you're welcome. Anything else that we did share? We went over time. We've been going over time a lot lately, but
But it's okay. We have something to tell the people. They need to hear this stuff.
we got something to tell the people then. So yeah, I guess we won't be. This was our only live for the month of April. The Embrace a Legacy team will actually be going on spring breaks
Mhm.
next week, and we see work-life
It's
balance.
important to rest.
It's important to rest. We'll be back at the top of next month. Well, actually, I am gonna make a commitment to go live every week in the month of May. That is, I have it in my calendar every week in the month away to go live. But yeah, if you guys like what you hear, please go to our Patreon page. We have amazing tools and resources for you to download to continue on with your personal development and personal growth. If you are watching this on YouTube, please make sure to subscribe. If you know a young woman in the ages of 14 to 19 in the New York City tri-state area, please make sure to share our program applications with them. You can find all of that at embraceherlegacy.com for our Embrace Her Legacy Academy. And we also accept donations. So support us. You can do that at embraceherlegacy.com. Cash App is Embrace Her Legacy, the number one, if you want to support us financially and sow into us. And is there anything else that we need to add?
No, I mean, if you stumbled across this live, make sure you give us a follow here. If you have any suggestions for the next live, our DMs are always open. Or if you ever have any questions, we could always, shout you out, do something like that. And that's it. Keep being amazing. I hope April's good to everyone out there. Yeah, that's it.
All right, all right. Well, good night, everybody. We hope you enjoyed. Thank you for rocking with us. Another Embrace Her Legacy live show on the can, and I see y'all when we finally hit that stage and we got a big, big live show. I'm speaking into existence, baby. We got that network deal, and we out here. All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye.